Have you ever looked in the mirror, not to check your appearance, but to ask yourself, am I living wisely? It's a quiet question, yet one that holds incredible power. Because wisdom isn't about how much you know, how many degrees you hold, or how clever your words sound. According to Stoic philosophy, true wisdom lies in how you choose to live, how you handle adversity, and how you treat others when no one's watching. And what about foolishness? The Stoics were clear. It's not a lack of intelligence, but a refusal to live in alignment with reason, virtue, and self-awareness. In this video, we're going to explore something that might feel uncomfortable, but deeply necessary. It's not about calling anyone out or casting judgment. Instead, it's an invitation to reflect, to question, and maybe to grow. Because the truth is, we all carry blind spots. And sometimes, what holds us back most isn't what we don't know, it's what we refuse to see. So if you're willing to look a little deeper, to challenge old habits, and see yourself through the lens of timeless wisdom, you're in the right place. Let's explore together. You might be surprised by what you find. Sign 1. Prioritizing appearance over character. Picture this. You meet a woman who seems to have it all: flawless makeup, a curated wardrobe, a stunning social media presence. Her selfies shine, her style turns heads, and her confidence seems unshakable. At first glance, she appears to be someone who's thriving. But look closer, and the illusion begins to fade. Beneath the surface, there's little substance. Her energy is consumed by how she looks, not by who she is. According to Stoic philosophy, this obsession with outward beauty is one of the clearest signs of foolishness. Not because beauty itself is wrong, but because it's being used to distract from what truly matters. Stoics believe that our worth is not defined by what the eye can see, but by the integrity of our soul, the strength of our character, and the quality of our thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, it's your inner world, your virtues, your choices, your discipline that shapes who you truly are. And while physical beauty fades, character endures. Now let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with taking care of your appearance. Dressing well and presenting yourself with pride can be a reflection of self-respect. But when you elevate appearance above all else, when your sense of worth depends on likes, compliments, or comparisons, you've lost touch with the deeper parts of yourself. And that, the Stoics would say, is a dangerous path. Why? Because what's external is always fleeting: the glow of youth, the admiration of others, the attention you receive. All of it can vanish in an instant. And when your identity is built on that shaky foundation, what's left when it disappears? Insecurity, envy, emptiness. The foolish woman clings to what is temporary. The wise woman builds her life upon what is lasting. The Stoics teach us that true beauty lies in how we live, in our patience, our courage, our compassion. They would ask, are you cultivating your mind with wisdom? Are you strengthening your soul through discipline and virtue? Are you choosing kindness, honesty, and humility, even when no one is watching? Because that's what leaves a lasting mark, not your eyeliner, not your wardrobe, but your example. Think of it this way: would you rather be remembered for how attractive you looked in a photo, or how deeply you impacted someone's life through your strength, your wisdom, or your kindness? If your energy is constantly being spent chasing approval through image, then you're robbing yourself of a deeper kind of fulfillment, the kind that doesn't fade with age or disappear with fashion trends, the kind that grows with time. So how do you shift from surface to substance? Start by reflecting. Ask yourself, what do I truly value? Am I nurturing the kind of person I want to become? When beauty fades, and it always will, what will remain of me? These are the kinds of questions the Stoics want us to sit with, because they knew that to chase beauty without virtue is like polishing a shield while neglecting the warrior behind it. So the next time you catch yourself scrolling through images, comparing your looks or obsessing over how you're seen, pause, breathe, and ask the deeper question, who am I becoming? Because in the end, your outer image may turn heads, but it's your inner character that shapes lives. Sign 2. Ignoring self-responsibility. Self-responsibility, there's a quiet yet powerful truth that Stoicism teaches us. Your life is your responsibility. No exceptions, no shortcuts, no one else to blame. And yet, this truth is often the hardest to accept. It's tempting, isn't it, to point fingers when things go wrong? To believe that our problems are caused by others, our parents, our boss, our partner, society, or even fate. That if only people treated us better, if only the world were fairer, then we'd finally be happy. But here's the problem with that mindset. It places all your power outside of you. The woman who refuses to take responsibility lives as a prisoner to her circumstances. She waits for life to change, for others to fix things, for luck to arrive. And while she waits, nothing changes. Because growth can't begin until ownership begins. The Stoics understood that we can't control everything that happens to us. Life is unpredictable, often unfair. But what we can control is how we respond. That response is where your freedom lies. That response is where wisdom begins. Think of someone who constantly complains about their job. Maybe their boss is rude, the pay is low, the hours are long. These frustrations might be real, but ask yourself, is she doing anything to improve her skills? Is she seeking new opportunities, adjusting her mindset, or leading with integrity despite the challenges? Or is she simply stuck in a cycle of blame? Responsibility is not about denying that life can be hard. It's about refusing to let hardship define you. When you stop blaming and start owning your choices, even the small ones, you take back the reins of your life. You move from victim to creator. And that shift, though subtle, transforms everything. Let's not sugarcoat it. Taking responsibility is uncomfortable. It requires humility. It means admitting that sometimes we're the reason for our own setbacks, that our reactions, our habits, our fears, not just outside forces, are shaping our lives. And yet, that same discomfort is what makes responsibility so liberating. Because once you acknowledge your role, you gain the power to change the story. This isn't about perfection. It's not about blaming yourself for every misstep. It's about being honest enough to ask, what part did I play in this? What can I do differently next time? How can I grow from this rather than shrink because of it? The woman who embraces responsibility doesn't need everything to go her way to find peace. She creates her own peace through her attitude, her effort, and her willingness to learn. She doesn't run from problems, she faces them, knowing that each obstacle is an opportunity to build strength from within. So the next time you catch yourself making excuses or shifting blame, pause, breathe, and remember, this is your life. No one else gets to live it, and no one else is coming to rescue you from it. You hold the pen. You choose the next sentence. You decide whether this chapter becomes a lesson or just another complaint. Responsibility is not a burden, it's your path to freedom. And the sooner you walk it, the sooner you become the woman you were always meant to be. Sign 3. Overvaluing others' opinions. In a world where approval feels like currency, it's easy to lose yourself trying to please everyone else. You post a picture, and within seconds, you're checking who liked it. You share your thoughts, then wonder if they sounded smart enough. You make a decision and immediately think, what will they say? This is one of the silent traps of modern life, living as though your worth depends on how others see you. And for the Stoics, this isn't just an emotional burden, it's a clear sign of foolishness. Why? Because when your sense of self is built on the opinions of others, you're building on sand. You become a leaf in the wind, drifting wherever approval blows. The foolish woman is constantly adjusting herself to fit in, filtering her thoughts, her voice, even her values, to avoid judgment or win praise. But in doing so, she loses the most important thing, her center. There's nothing wrong with caring what others think. After all, we're social beings. But there's a vast difference between being open to feedback and being enslaved by validation. When every decision is filtered through the question, how will I be perceived? You stop asking the questions that truly matter. Is this right for me? Does this align with who I want to be? Living for approval isn't just exhausting, it's unsustainable. You will never satisfy everyone. The more you try, the more fragmented you become. You'll end up chasing conflicting expectations, wearing different masks for different people, until you no longer remember which one is real. And here's the hard truth: some people will misunderstand you no matter how careful you are. Some will judge you, envy you, dismiss you. That's not something you can fix. It's something you must learn to rise above. The Stoic path teaches us to measure ourselves not by public applause, but by private integrity. To ask not, what will they think, but, did I act with wisdom? Did I stay true to my values? Because when your inner compass is strong, the noise of the crowd loses its power. This kind of self-trust doesn't come overnight. It's built slowly through daily choices. It means being okay with not being liked all the time. It means choosing truth over popularity, depth over performance, and authenticity over approval. So what can you do when the urge to seek validation creeps in? First, pause. Recognize the feeling without judgment. Then gently return to yourself. Ask, if no one else knew about this choice, would I still make it? That question cuts through the noise and brings you back to clarity. And remember, some of the wisest women are misunderstood in their time. Their strength, their independence, their refusal to conform, it unsettles people. But that's okay. Because living wisely isn't about being universally accepted. It's about being inwardly aligned. Your worth is not a debate to be settled by others. It's a truth to be lived quietly, consistently, and courageously. So the next time you're tempted to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's mold, stop, stand tall, and remind yourself, you were not made to be everyone's version of acceptable. You were made to be real. Sign 4. Emotional instability and overreaction. We've all seen it, or maybe even lived it. A small disagreement turns into a shouting match. A simple misunderstanding snowballs into resentment. One rude comment from a stranger, one unexpected delay, and suddenly the entire day feels ruined. This is emotional instability, and according to Stoic wisdom, it's one of the clearest signs of a foolish mind. Stoics didn't believe we should be emotionless. They understood that to be human is to feel anger, sadness, joy, fear. But they also believed that wisdom means not letting those feelings hijack your behavior. The difference between a wise and foolish person isn't whether they feel emotions, it's how they respond to them. A woman ruled by her emotions reacts before thinking. She speaks words she can't take back. She makes impulsive choices that ripple into consequences she didn't intend. Her mood swings dictate the quality of her relationships, her work, and even her sense of peace. And worse, she often blames others for making her feel that way, never realizing she surrendered her power the moment she lost control. Here's the hard truth the Stoics would have us face. No one else is responsible for how we choose to react. Life will test you, people will disappoint you, plans will fall apart. But none of these things can truly harm your peace unless you give them permission to. And when you let emotions run wild, you've already handed over the keys to your own well-being. But this isn't about suppression, it's about transformation. Emotional stability isn't coldness, it's courage. It's the strength to pause when you're provoked, the wisdom to breathe through frustrations, the clarity to choose your response instead of being dragged by impulse. Ask yourself, how often do you let one moment of anger taint an entire day? How many times have you looked back and realized the issue wasn't the situation, it was how intensely you reacted to it? Emotional instability doesn't just affect you, it spreads, it pushes people away. It creates tension, distrust, and unnecessary drama. And eventually, it shapes your reputation. People may admire your looks, your talent, your intelligence, but if they feel like they're walking on shells around you, they won't stick around for long. So how do we build emotional strength? Start with self-awareness. Notice your triggers. When you feel that wave of anger, jealousy, or panic rising, pause. Oh, don't act. Just observe. This tiny moment of stillness is where your power lives. Then ask yourself, is this reaction serving me? Is this worth disturbing my peace? Am I responding with intention or just releasing tension? More often than not, you'll find the situation isn't as urgent or dramatic as your emotions make it feel. Another powerful shift: focus only on what you can control. You can't control how others behave. You can't always prevent things from going wrong, but you can always choose how you show up calm, centered, and unshaken. That is the Stoic ideal. Yes, there will be days when you stumble, when your emotions get the best of you. That's okay. The point isn't perfection, it's progress. Each time you catch yourself and choose differently, you're strengthening the muscle of emotional wisdom. In a world that praises loud reactions and dramatic responses, calmness becomes a rare and radiant strength. So the next time life presses your buttons, don't ask, how should I explode? Instead ask, how can I stay grounded? Because at the end of the day, the strongest woman isn't the one who controls everything. It's the one who controls herself. Sign 5. Materialism and greed. Imagine a woman who appears to have it all: luxury handbags, the latest car, a wardrobe that turns heads, and a lifestyle that screams success. But look deeper, and you'll often find something missing, not in her bank account, but in her spirit. This is the trap of materialism, when your sense of worth is tied to what you own, rather than who you are. And according to Stoic thought, this obsession with wealth, status, and possessions isn't a sign of success, it's a sign of foolishness. Why? Because material things are fleeting. They rust, fade, go out of style, or disappear overnight. The pursuit of them can become an endless race where satisfaction is always one step ahead. The more you chase, the more empty you feel. And that's the cruel irony. The woman who believes happiness lies in having more ends up constantly feeling like she never has enough. True wealth, the Stoics would argue, isn't about accumulation. It's about contentment. A rich life isn't filled with stuff, it's filled with meaning, purpose, and inner peace, and those things don't come with a price tag. But materialism today isn't always obvious. Sometimes it hides behind ambition. Maybe you're not buying luxury goods, but you're obsessed with titles, promotion, or the need to be seen as successful. You think, if I just reach that next goal, then I'll finally feel good enough. But the finish line keeps moving. This kind of striving isn't growth, it's a hunger that never ends. And the Stoic path calls us to question it. Am I chasing this because it aligns with my values, or because I'm afraid of seeming small in the eyes of others? Breaking free from greed doesn't mean giving up everything or living without joy. It means learning to value what truly matters. The Stoics practiced this through moments of intentional simplicity. They would go without certain comforts, not to suffer, but to remind themselves that they were stronger than their cravings. They trained themselves to find peace in less and strength in self-restraint. You don't need to give up all your possessions to adopt this mindset, but you can start by shifting your focus. Ask yourself, What am I grateful for right now without needing anything more? Am I buying this out of joy or out of fear? Is this adding meaning to my life or just filling a temporary void? When you stop measuring your worth by what you accumulate, something beautiful happens. You begin to feel lighter, freer, more grounded in who you are, not what you own. And that's where true power lives, not in the things that decorate your life, but in the values that define it. So if you find yourself constantly wanting more, pause, look inward, and remember this. The richest life isn't built by acquiring, it's built by appreciating, simplifying, and choosing what aligns with your soul. Because at the end of the day, no one remembers you for the shoes you wore or the car you drove. They remember your presence, your values, and the depth of your character. That's the kind of wealth that never fades. Sign 6. Avoiding self-reflection and growth, among all the signs of foolishness, this may be the most quietly destructive. The refusal to look inward, because without self-reflection, there can be no growth. And without growth, wisdom becomes impossible. It's far easier to stay distracted than to sit with your own thoughts. To scroll, binge, or keep busy rather than ask yourself, am I living well? Am I becoming the person I want to be? But a life without reflection is a life on autopilot. You may appear to be moving, but inside, you're stuck, repeating the same behaviors, reacting the same way, making the same poor choices, and wondering why nothing ever truly changes. Foolishness, in this sense, isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like comfort, like routine, like the quiet resistance to change. It shows up when you avoid feedback, when you brush off mistakes, or when you convince yourself that growth is something other people do. The Stoics taught that reflection isn't about guilt or self-criticism, it's about realignment. About observing yourself honestly and using that awareness to live with greater integrity. The wise woman doesn't fear her flaws, she faces them. She sees each mistake as a lesson, not a label, each failure as an opportunity to improve, not a reason to give up. And self-reflection doesn't require hours of silence or a spiritual retreat. It starts small. A few moments at the end of your day to ask, what did I do well today? Where did I act out of fear instead of strength? What would I do differently tomorrow if I had the chance? It means catching yourself in real time, pausing during conflict to ask, am I reacting or responding? Or mid-decision, asking, does this reflect who I want to be? Another powerful tool is feedback, not the shallow kind that flatters, but the kind that challenges you. That comes from people who care enough to tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Remember, self-reflection isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The goal isn't to become flawless, but to become more aware, because awareness creates choice, and choice is what makes change possible. So, if you've been running from reflection, now is the time to stop and turn inward. Your next breakthrough won't come from the outside. It will come the moment you're brave enough to look within. Sign 7. Talking more than listening. Of all the ways foolishness reveals itself, this one is deceptively simple: talking more than listening. In a world that rewards volume and visibility, silence is often mistaken for weakness. But in Stoic philosophy, silence, intentional, thoughtful silence, is one of the clearest signs of wisdom. The foolish woman feels the need to fill every gap with her voice. She dominates conversations, interrupts, gives advice even when it's not asked for, and rarely pauses to consider whether she's truly listening or just waiting to speak. Her identity is tangled in being heard, not in hearing others. On the surface, this may look like confidence, but it often hides something deeper: insecurity, fear of being unseen, or the false belief that speaking equates to power. In truth, the woman who cannot listen is the woman who stops learning. She becomes trapped in her own echo chamber, reinforcing the same ideas, the same emotions, the same assumptions, never challenged, never stretched, never changed. The Stoics taught that true growth begins with humility, and humility begins with listening. Not passive, surface-level listening, but active presence. It means entering a conversation without the need to dominate, correct, or impress. It's being more interested in understanding than in being understood. And this isn't just about being polite. Listening is a mirror. It reveals your ability to quiet the ego and make space for something greater than yourself. When you truly listen to others, to life, even to your own inner voice, you become more grounded, more discerning, more aware. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop assuming and start understanding. In contrast, the woman who always talks may win attention in the moment, but she loses connection in the long run. People may smile and nod, but underneath, they feel unheard, dismissed, or even invisible. Over time, this creates distance emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. Learning to listen well doesn't mean silencing your voice. It means learning when to speak and when to hold space. It means recognizing that not every moment needs your opinion, and not every silence needs to be filled. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is your presence, your undivided, judgment-free, patient presence. So how can you cultivate this kind of wisdom in daily life? Start by noticing your impulses. When someone is speaking, do you mentally prepare your reply instead of fully hearing them? Do you interrupt or steer the conversation back to yourself? When you feel the urge to talk, ask yourself, is this coming from a place of value or a need for validation? Another practice is intentional silence. Try sitting with someone you trust and simply listening, really listening, without needing to fix, advise, or outshine. Let their words land. Let their experience be heard. You might be surprised how much is revealed when you're not rushing to respond. And don't forget the importance of listening to yourself, not your insecurities or your doubts, but your deeper intuition. Often wisdom doesn't come with noise. It arrives quietly, in the space we create when we stop speaking and start paying attention. At its core, talking more than listening is not just a social habit, it's a spiritual block. It keeps you disconnected from others, from truth, and from your own potential. The woman who talks constantly may gain attention, but the woman who listens deeply earns respect and wisdom. So ask yourself, when was the last time I listened with my whole heart? When was the last time I chose silence, not because I had nothing to say, but because I had something to learn? Because in the stillness, truth speaks, and only the wise have ears to hear it. In conclusion, the path to wisdom. So there you have it, 7 signs of a foolish woman through the lens of Stoic wisdom. Not to shame or criticize, but to awaken reflection. Because true wisdom isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing to grow. Each of these signs points to a place where we might be out of alignment with our values. But here's the beauty, change begins the moment you become aware. It takes honesty to admit where we fall short, and courage to choose a better path. You don't need to fix everything overnight. Even the smallest shift in thought, the quietest act of self-awareness, is a step toward a wiser, more grounded life. So take a breath, be gentle with yourself, and ask, which of these signs spoke to me most? Where can I begin? If this video stirred something in you, feel free to like, share, or reflect with someone you trust. And in the comments, simply write "my reflection." There's more to explore on this journey. Stay with it, because the woman who chooses wisdom even when it's hard is already becoming powerful in the truest sense. Your next step awaits.